I like to segue into another topic, which again involves a little of it's a news-based thing that we always discuss. But yes, there are different angles that we could explore since Nappinai is there with us. That is about Saudi Arabia building a smart city in the desert that will know its residents better than they know themselves. Of course, now that clearly brings up a very different kind of issue out here. Uh, I know.
All that it means is that Saudi Arabia is now actually going to do a joint venture with Google, and because Google anyway knows more about us than we do, right? So all that they're going to do is just borrow the algorithms and pay Google a whole lot of money and say this is the way we're going to go forward.
No, but there are two interesting aspects out here. One is, of course, India spoke about those 100 smart cities to begin with. We spoke about a 2 lakh crore budget, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, Nothing really much has happened. I mean, in bits and pieces, yes, truly it has happened. But look at the budget allocations. As of now, uh, we really don't have much of a smart city to talk. In the other way, I just the other day I was passing through Alsur Lake, and I saw that huge board of smart city Bengaluru. I saw the potholes below. I saw the traffic below. Things have improved clearly in bits and pieces. Today we have the fast tag, we have UPI, we have a lot of e-governance moves. So I think let's give the devil its due clearly as far as the work is concerned. But at the same time, a lot needs to be done. But since we already have Napana and we have been speaking about these things, I'd like to, relate this to the face recognition stuff that Napana has been talking a lot about, especially in UP, for instance, to protect women. So here you have a smart city that will ostensibly protect women, protects its citizens, give you more services. You have face recognition software, which also at first blush and really at face value, yes, it is all here to protect the citizen and give you better services. Napanai, your thoughts? I believe.
I am deeply concerned. I can tell you this much because
Absolutely. I mean, this is just George Orwell all over again.
so
No, but
you're talking about a kind of panopticon of a state itself, right?
Exactly.
And when you ask about this whole women aspect, nowadays, if you look at all the things that are being done, a couple of years back, when this whole facial recognition technology assimilation into governance took place, if you go back to see where the funding came from, substantially it came from what is called as the Nirbhaya Fund, which is meant to be utilized for protecting women and children. So it's no surprise that a lot of intrusive technologies and their usage in governance is being justified on the angle of protecting women and children, right? So is it really doing it? Or is it actually going to take away their rights? There are so many studies today which show whether you're talking about it as watching pornography and therefore somebody is supposed to be monitored and therefore you're supposed to be named and shamed or something like that, or whether it's physical movement, CCTV cameras everywhere, which is going to supposedly protect women, or facial recognition technology, or getting every citizen's data point, every single point on board, so that wherever you're seen, whatever you're doing, we can get you in 1 minute. The whole problem with this concept is, on one hand, with India being so populated, and today in today's data driven world, therefore we have again become one of the richest nations, right?
Absolutely.
On two
Absolutely.
counts. One, because of our population, and two, because ours is still an open, liberated economy where people can come and utilize this resource yet again, right? So, therefore, on one hand, it's overpopulated, and when there is a crime, there are genuine concerns and problems that the law enforcement is facing in terms of investigation and apprehending the victim. I'm sorry, apprehending the criminal. But on the other hand, you have something like this, which is about a preemptive measure to say that, in India, watching pornography is not an offense. Uploading, disseminating, or selling, sharing, etc. is an offense. So, if you're just watching pornography, why should that be assumed to be protecting women, then you're again applying the same yardstick, the patronizing yardstick that women don't watch porn, right?
Yeah,
And
going
there
to
are studies which show that women substantially do. So what exactly is the purpose behind this attempt? And if you look at the Puttaswamy judgment and the three grounds they laid down of a law to exist, and the law being for a legitimate state aim, and that it should be proportionate, all three are not met here if you talk about the UP situation.
Yeah, and by that logic, I think we'll have to stop. We'll have to close down this Ajanta and Ellora and everything. I mean, because that is also. I mean, what do you
No,
do?
no. So
All
here
our
is the
Kama
question for
Sutra
you.
books and all that.
Yeah, here's a question for you, Nappinai. The question is that, see, on one hand, state governments and central governments wax, eloquent about doing, protecting the rights of the women and children, right? And then they go to, say that we're going to use technology to make sure that there is constant surveillance and data is available. We'll catch them wherever, they go, etc., etc. Question is, why the fundamental premise of any of this is that if there is a crime, if there is an offense, the offender must be caught, punished, and exemplary punishment should be meted out so that there is a use case to suggest that if you do this, this is going to happen. My question is, when we are spending so much of money on these, right, which could be suspected, as you said, and I completely agree with you, why can't we spend a fraction of that amount in speeding up the law enforcement, speeding up the punishment mechanism, speeding up the process, and speeding up this exemplary punishment? Why don't we do
See,
that?
you can't treat it as either or here. Na? It'll have to be, you have to try multiple options here. So
Right.
to that extent, I would not totally be with you to say, oh yeah, it is better for you to put it here rather than there, because why not try everything? My concern is actually a lot more deep-rooted. You're collecting data. You're collecting a lot of data about citizens. There is no personal data protection law still in India, which tells us what a government can do with our data, right? And there is no certainty. Therefore, you're going around setting up CCTV cameras, you're going around collecting a lot of data and rampant collection of facial recognition technology information, right? From schools to public roads to everywhere. What is it that is regulating this usage? Or more importantly, what is the law or regulation which sets out the purpose limitation? How are you going to block a law enforcement agency from not abusing the data that it is collecting in general and only addressing or viewing data that is pertinent to women protection? And even when it comes to women's protection, the reason I'm skeptical about the efficacy of it is, let's take that instance of the New Year sexual assault case in
In
Bangalore,
Bangalore.
where the culprits were caught on CCTV camera. And I was shocked to hear the top police cop of Karnataka coming on a news channel and saying, ask the victim to come and file a complaint, we will take it up. The law does not
Does
require a
not.
victim to come and give a complaint. The law only requires an information to be given in writing. So anyone can start the process of law, and nothing stopped you from apprehending the culprits. We have had a horrific crime in Mumbai of this girl, the techie girl who landed in the train station, and nobody could trace what happened to her. And then there was a CCTV camera grab of the person who escorted her outside the
Exactly. Yep.
station. But there was still so much confusion because the camera grab was so bad that they could not really compare it sufficiently for effective usage. They still had to rely on standard investigation processes to sustain that case. So when we are seeing the inefficacy of CCTV, we are seeing that there are no standards laid down, technical standards for what is a good methodology to ensure protection. and most importantly, a law that limits usage of this kind of data. It actually brings us to a higher order of Aadhaar, and where in the Aadhaar judgment of Puttaswamy, the court already struck down anything that was excessive, where it jeopardizes the liberties of individuals because of these interlinking of multiple data sets.
Yeah.
And here is a situation where you're capturing literally everything. Every time we talk about facial recognition technology and its abuse and all that, the first image that comes to my mind is of Tom Cruise entering this Gap store in Minority Report.
Yes.
And then, the message boards, because he's trying to hide himself. And here is a thing which tells him what he likes to shop there and what he should shop there.
Correct,
Right?
correct.
So that's the situation we are pushing ourselves into.
See, the other problem, Nappinai, is that, although the Supreme Court said in the judgment that Aadhaar is not to be made compulsory unless and until there is a requirement stated for that. Consequently, the banks, it was very clearly that RBI issued a circular saying that you cannot demand Aadhaar for opening of a bank account. Today, in Bangalore, when you go to open a bank account, the branch manager tells you, give me Aadhaar card.
Yes.
When I fought with him, he said, sir, I have not seen the circular. If you want to open an account, I need the Aadhaar card. Otherwise, I cannot open an account.
So for
imagine
all
a daily
viewers
level.
out there, I'll give a very simple solution for not just this situation, but any situation you'll face in the future with any kind of authority figure. Even when you go to a restaurant, they ask you for your mobile number. I refused to shop at one particular place because they insisted that unless you give your mobile number, we will not allow for a billing to be done.
Yeah.
And then that same shop then faced litigation for the same issue thereafter. So here is a simple solution for you. You don't have to fight with anybody. All you have to do is tell them, please put it in writing and
Yes.
say, this is the only document I have to give. Then I will give it
They
to you.
don't do that.
And
They
ask-
don't
No,
do
they don't
that.
do that.
I-
They don't
I
do that.
asked
I
them.
asked them that. I
Yes.
asked them. And they said, we can't give anything in
Yeah.
writing.
Yeah.
You want to open an account, you have to give the Aadhaar card.
So
Now,
all
my
you
problem
have to
was
do
not
is-
that.
Absolutely. Then all you have to do next is you put it in writing. Nobody stopped you from doing it. Then they will deny it. But when they deny it, they also have to open your bank account without the Aadhaar then. Simple.
Yeah, but then,
Instead of it
So
happening
viewers,
once,
viewers,
but let me
no,
tell you what actually
this
happened.
is very important for you viewers. Please pay attention.
Yeah, it's actually very simple. When you say it with conviction, when you say it simply to say that this is what the Supreme Court has decided, and if you do this, one, it violates the Supreme Court's order. Two, it could amount to contempt of court.
contempt of court, correct.
And three, more importantly, now this is no longer the law of the land, and therefore you are committing what is the data protection you're giving me? Because there is a misapprehension that until and unless the personal data protection bill becomes law, India does not have a personal data protection regime. We do have under 43A of the IT Act, there is also a criminal provision under 72A which makes body corporates liable. A bank or a restaurant is very much liable still. The problem is only with respect to government, which is what we were speaking about earlier. So today when you tell them, show me what are your data protection provisions to say that you will not abuse this data, I'm telling you politely 2-3 lines explaining things. No problem, madam. You please go and sit. We don't want your mobile number. No problem, madam. You give whatever document you have. We will, and the next step you have to ask is, please show us what is the provision or what is the process. Every bank, everything needs to have a policy document, right? Which is the process they'll follow. Please show your process document which says only Aadhaar is acceptable. No problem, I'll give it to you, right? And then they will have to necessarily show the process document which will list multiple documents because they
Correct.
cannot, under the RBI provision, have only one document. And I'm
Correct.
just using
And even the website shows multiple documents if you
exactly. So you have, we were talking about social media earlier. The good thing about social media, that is why I keep saying we should not throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yes.
We have to be careful what we wish for because we may actually get it.
Get it.
So let's be careful in terms of even social media or our social media bashing. In fact, even when this whole Facebook Australia thing happened, that's what I said. There seems to be these wrong assumptions that governments don't want social media. That is incorrect. Governments love social media because that also gives an opportunity to voice their opinion without legacy media playing God, right? And secondly, we as users need it most. That is the platform which gave us this amazing opportunity to voice our opinions freely, right? So look at the kind of power you have in your hand when you say, no problem, we will then also put it out to you don't even have to run all the way to RBI. You can tag RBI on your Twitter and put it there saying RBI so-and-so bank is insisting, please confirm.
Correct.
And then they will become answerable to RBI. So the law can be used very simply, but remember, don't use it with anger. Don't be rude to any authority. Remember, they're also just doing their job. I'm saying it predominantly because of police and other authorities also. See, I work with police. I've been a defense lawyer all my life, in terms of criminal law. But I have been working with police over the last 20 years in terms of training them and advising them, etc. Right? And then suddenly you see the flip side of it. And you realize there has to be a balance. When they're doing wrong, point it out to them. Be firm, but don't be rude. Be assertive, don't be angry. Because in the anger, in that noise, things get lost.
Absolutely. It's a very common sense approach, basically.
Yeah. Just use a common sense approach because ultimately, instead of the 5 steps I told you, you still have an opportunity for, you can actually finish your work in just 1 or 2 steps.
So it's about getting your work done.
Yeah, and you made a very important statement out here that don't throw the baby with the bath water, because this is also what I've been insisting over a period of time. You may actually get what you wish for and which we all subscribe to.